And so it's great. So it's great to have so many people here. Some names you know, some we don't, but great to have you joining in. Origin is definitely a community effort, and we're only as strong as a community around it. So thank you all for being here. I'm Josh. I'm one of the founders, if you don't know me, and this is the other co-founder, Matt.
I'm going to share in the chat the meeting notes that we're using. I think I posted that earlier, but it doesn't look like it's visible when other people join. So take a look at that if you haven't already. And I think it looks like we have critical mass. If anyone wants to speak up, I'll have to give you the ability to unmute. So just post in the chat, and I should see that and be able to open up your mic. All right, so let's get into the agenda that you'll find in the meeting notes. We'll start out with welcoming one of the newest members of our team, Ed Spencer. Really excited to have him, kind of a senior front-end focused engineer, if I'm not mistaken. And today's his first official day, I believe. Anything you want to say, Ed? If I gave you the ability to unmute.
Yeah, very happy to be here. Looking forward to building some awesome stuff.
Great, we're excited to have you. All right, the next thing on the agenda is public service announcements. We have a couple of those. The first is that our head of business development, Coleman, has shared a draft of a traditional investor pitch blog post. This is based on some feedback that we had received from one of our investors who was looking at OUSD, the DeFi product that we'll be talking about mostly here today. Had given us some feedback that the language that we use on the website and in a lot of our marketing copy is geared toward early adopter DeFi enthusiast types and may not resonate as well with traditional investors looking at the product. So that's a blog post that we're kicking around to potentially change that narrative a little bit. And then second thing I was just going to flag for a few people was that we had a user in Discord reporting today that our Wallet Connect integration is not working. It sounds like maybe we haven't kept up with the Wallet Connect updates, and so we might need to just upgrade that. So I've linked that GitHub issue here in the notes. And then Josh, did you want to say something about the curve proposal?
Yeah, so our curve proposal is live. So we have posted that. We haven't gotten a whole lot of action on or activity on it yet, but that is live. Asking for our curve permissionless pool to be added to the curve.fi UI. So pretty exciting on that. We are talking several curve whales will be over the next few days on asking for their support. Also asking people in our community to voice their support as well for that proposal.
And just to step back for a second, kind of meta conversation about this meeting. This is, as Josh said earlier, part of our broader effort to default to public and involve our community in everything that we're doing. So we hope everybody will join us for this once a week, and it's your opportunity to get involved in whatever capacity you want, whether it's jumping in as an engineering contributor or just having your voice heard as a user or stakeholder in OUSD or any other DeFi initiatives that you think we should take on. So that brings us to lowlights and highlights. We like to recognize things that are going well and things that could be going better. So I think there are a couple of things that Franc wanted to highlight, and hopefully you are able to unmute, Franc. If it's not obvious, we're experimenting with Zoom for the first time. We usually use Google Meet. And
can you hear me?
Yeah, I think so.
That works.
Yeah. So yeah, I wasn't able to unmute myself, so I had to request you to unmute. Anyway, we can figure this out offline. Yeah, in terms of highlights, the OpenZeppelin audit is on track to complete by Wednesday, August 18th. So far, so good. We haven't found any major issues. Then the other thing I wanted to highlight is our statistics. So in the internal sprint tracker, I collect statistics on the second tab after every sprint, and just wanted to highlight that in SP5, our predictability increased. 78% of the project that were marked as firm were completed. So that's a good thing. Predictability helps the business team. It's basically engineering doing a better job at saying whether or not they'll be able to complete a project by the end of the sprint. Back to you, Micah.
Thanks for those. The one thing I wanted to highlight was I was on a call this morning with a user of our NFT platform that had participated in our recent ethereal one-of-one auction, which ended up selling for, I think, 150 ETH or just shy of $500,000. And during that call, we were talking primarily about the NFT platform, but he mentioned Origin Dollar by name and said that it was a pretty interesting product, and a couple of his friends were into it. And so that was pretty cool to hear that kind of unsolicited from him. Any other highlights from anyone? Either in the chat or if you're able to unmute, give it a shot. While we wait for anyone to jump in there, are there any lowlights that come to mind that we should be aware of from the past week? If you think of anything, just drop it in the chat. We can come back to it or take a look at the meeting notes again, and I'll post those just for anybody who's arriving a little bit later. That brings us to sprint planning. We have 2-week sprint cycle that we use, and we are a few days into our most recent one that started this past Thursday. So in the meeting notes, I've highlighted the 5 kind of big priorities that we have for the sprint. And then there are a couple of stretch goals, I think, that one of which we'll talk about a little bit later, and the other we talked about a little bit last week as a part of the transaction routing improvements that Doman's making. Is there anything that you, Josh, or Franc want to say about the sprint? It's still a little bit early, but wanted to make sure that we had a good handle on everything that we're trying to accomplish over the next couple of weeks. Nothing to add. Anybody else, feel free to speak up at any time, but otherwise, I think we can move on to discussion section, and we'll start with a demo, hopefully, from Doman, if he is here. Anybody see Doman? I don't, and so we might pass it off to Daniel to give an update on the audit progress, and then a couple other topics after that. Daniel, are you with us? It looks like we might have lost Daniel too. Well, we're having fun. I know Tom's here. Tom, do you want to give a quick update on the Gnosis Safe integration?
Sure. It's basically finished. I added some UI around opting into the yield for safe users or contract users generally. Doman reviewed it last night, so thanks, Doman, but you're not here. So today I'm going to address a bit of his feedback and get it deployed in common, organized with Gnosis to get us whitelisted, so I don't have to mess around with the IPFS stuff, which is awesome. Thanks, Coleman. So I'll ping them again when the build's ready and out, what should be today, and hopefully they review it and we're good to go.
Sounds great. Josh, I think that Coleman's sort of out this week. Is that something you can pick up or that I should jump in on, or do you know if he'll be around to take that along? Josh, you might need to unmute. Let me try to ask you again. I think you left the meeting and came back.
Yeah, I wasn't able to unmute myself. Yeah, I'm happy to take that on. Tom, just ping me when you're ready. Or you can ping them in the Discord as well. That's essentially what I'm going to do.
Good deal. Thanks, Tom and Josh. I think Daniel's back. Daniel, do you want to give us an update on the audit progress with Open Zeppelin? And then there were a couple other topics that I can ask you about. You're still muted, Daniel, and I think you should be able to unmute. Maybe we circle back again on that one. Franc, you had a couple other topics in here that you wanted to cover. The first being the roadmap for after we get through this next sprint. You want to take that away?
Hey, yeah, so I just wanted to start a high-level discussion. I think to set the context, I think we're going to be pretty busy on finishing the audit and relaunching the strategies. So we have some work lined up, I think, for probably the next 1 to 2 sprints. But I was looking forward past that and trying to, I wanted to get input from the team on the big projects, but you guys think we should get on the roadmap. I already chatted a bit with Daniel on that, and Matt and Josh. So I seeded some projects. So I'm just gonna quickly go through them, but I'd love to for people to suggest other things or express their opinion. So one thing that we were thinking we should flesh out is working on better tools for governance. More specifically, focusing probably first on the strategist. So the tools that would expose data for the strategists to be able to make better forecasting decisions and manage better our strategies, basically optimizing yield. So that's one area we could focus on. The other thing that was mentioned, and I think Daniel also has that in one of the documents that he wants to cover later in the meeting, is a keeper integration so that we can have rebates happening at on a predictable schedule. So there is that. There was discussion around an arbitrage bot. Some of you may have noticed that the OUSD exchange rate very, very slightly fluctuates below or above $1. And so it can be a little spooky for new users when they see that their OUSD is at $0.999 versus 1.0, basically. So that would be a way to help with that, an arbitrage bot. And better analytics into yield. Yeah, I think that also ties in with the better strategies tools. So yeah, any other, are there any we are looking at big fixtures, right? We're not looking at, small improvements, but in terms of big things that we should be considering for our future roadmap. Are there any other areas that you guys can think of?
And this is on the engineering side. Obviously, on the business side, the big projects are all around wallet integrations and exchange listings, but those are largely business endeavors more than engineering endeavors.
Along the same lines, the on-ramp predicament is I think the biggest piece for me, but for now that's a business concern. Anybody else have anything to add? Feel free to use the chat. Let us know you want us to unmute. If you want us to make it possible for you to unmute. Franc, the next topic on the agenda was rotations. You want to get into that a little bit?
Yeah, you're muted, Frank, in case that's the problem.
Hey, thanks, Mike.
I didn't realize that. Did you mute yourself and then you were unable to unmute? That shouldn't be how it works.
Yeah, that's what happened. So after I finished
okay.
talking about the previous point, I muted myself so that you guys don't get any background noise.
Yeah.
But then I'm not able to unmute.
Sorry,
again.
I didn't realize that.
No, it's okay. I mean, I wonder for this meeting if we could unmute everyone. Anyway, yeah, you can think about it. Rotations. Yeah, so as discussed last week, we are starting to structure a bit more the team, the engineering team, with people focusing on the OUSD versus others focusing on the NFT. And I think it might be time to do the same for the rotations. I was chatting with Daniel actually last week, and he was supposed to be on the NFT rotation, for example. And I started compiling a list of things that I should bring him up to speed on, and then I realized it's really hard, right, to be on a rotation without having the the latest context. So I wanted to discuss with you guys about basically splitting the rotation, so having an OUSD rotation and an NFT rotation. Any feedback or thoughts?
Yeah, I think that makes total sense. People should be on rotation for stuff that they're actively thinking about and paying attention to.
Yeah. Any other feedback, Daniel or Tom or
yeah?
Bowman?
Assuming you guys can hear me, I'm all for splitting the rotation, and yeah, as far as emergencies and stuff for OUSD, I'm basically always on that. But yeah, it makes a whole lot of sense to split them.
I don't know if there's any sort of things on OUSD that need a rotation. It's sort of like all or nothing with any issues that happen with OUSD. And in the old case, we'll all be here anyway. Otherwise, there's nothing to do. I mean, I guess the rotation could be doing the hacks or that kind of thing.
Tom and I are on opposite sides of the world, almost exactly. So he's down when I'm up, and vice versa.
Yeah, so I think the rotation, as you said, Tom, right now it's only covering hacks. When it comes to security vulnerabilities, I think the team quickly jumps in on Discord, and we are, I think we have been doing well. We don't need right now rotation for that. Right now, the rotation is mostly around analyzing the DeFi hacks happening on other projects. And actually, that was my next question is, wanted to make sure that we are still getting value out of doing this hack analysis. What are you guys' thoughts? Are we still? Is it still worth spending that time?
I guess there's a level of, there's kind of 3 levels to possible levels of doing it. One is just looking at reports on a hack. One is getting down and understanding the hack, and the last one is explaining it and writing up a post on it. Although there's some value to just seeing that hacks occurred and like checking the write-ups on it, I found that almost always misses the key insight of what really went on, and the reports are often wrong, and just a high-level summary will often, unless it's into the standard bag of problems, won't really tell you what actually happened and what you need to do to make your own contract secure. So I don't think that there's a huge amount of value in that first level of just reading a news article on a hack. I think that there is a bit of value in the second level, because if you actually go down and dig into them, then you realize whether you have a problem or don't have a problem. The value of doing the third one is because, actually explaining it out once you've understood it, is that it's useful to a bigger audience. It's useful to the rest of the team, besides just you doing it. I'm not 100% sure how valuable that is. A lot of DeFi hacks are clones. So once you understand the first one and then you dig into the second one, you find that, hey, it's just a clone of something else and you don't really need to do a write-up on it. But it's still valuable even when you think something's a clone attack to go in and read up on it, because that sometimes there's a twist that you didn't expect. So that's my opinion on it.
Yeah, Tom and Doman, do you have any opinions on the hack analysis?
Yeah, they're a good like a good learning exercise. I think Solidity, the only way to be really good at it is to write it all the time. And when you run out of things to write, what do you sort of do? So I think it's worth keeping up, even just for personal knowledge rather than sort of team knowledge.
Yeah, I think the personal knowledge you gain by actually working through something is tremendous. It's a whole different ballgame than to have worked through it yourself. So from a self-education point of view, it's really good.
Okay, good feedback. So then what I'll do is I'll revamp the rotation. So we'll split the rotation and we'll keep the OUSD rotation for doing hack analysis. Does that sound good to everyone?
Yeah, and I know some people enjoy doing it, and so if somebody doesn't enjoy doing it, we don't have to have it. Everybody. It's definitely something that people could volunteer to be on the list or not be on the list if they didn't want to.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, sounds good.
And one quick comment on the ones that are just clones and seem like not worth doing a write-up on. There is community benefit from having a repository of all the different hacks and what happened. Our GitHub repo is becoming quite valuable for that. So I would encourage you, even if it's just a stub that just says, hey, the cream hack is a clone of the curve hack or whatever, that, and then a link to that's still valuable just to have it documented and comprehensive.
All right. Anything else to discuss on rotation?
No, I think that's it. Good discussion, guys.
Thank you, Franc. Doman, you want to take a stab at trying to do a demo here?
Sure. Let me share my screen. Okay. So you're probably seeing my screen now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this project right now that I'm doing, the smart transaction routing, the whole point of it is that we no longer our DEP no longer only calls the vault to mint and redeem, so like to buy and sell OUSD, but now it's going to be also using Flipper or Origin Swap, which is Daniel's child, and Uniswap and Uniswap v3. And also the UI, you've probably noticed, has changed quite a bit. I think Ori and Micah did a great job simplifying it. It's closer to Uniswap's UI, so it's like easier to comprehend. Anybody who's going to be working on this, might be good to point out there are like some additional dashboard debug functions you can use, so you can always check, what's the balance of each of the assets in Flipper, for example, and what's the allowance Flipper can spend current users stable coins. This part is also pretty cool because it also works on production. So in case the strategy won't allow you to use Flipper for swapping between USDC and OUSD, you can check here if maybe the balance of the coin is too low or something like that. Just some helper buttons to put it in different states, and also a similar thing goes for Uniswap. Okay, so maybe if I just like show you how this is going to work. So similar to Uniswap, you can pick between different stable coins here, like the one we support, and you would just enter an amount, and that would populate this table below, which is the result of estimating how much gas is going to be required for each of the contract calls, and what amount of stable coins each contract is going to return. So the user really gets the best deal for the specific swap he's trying. So for example, if we want to swap 20 DAI, it's going to call, it's not evident right now, but it's going to call Origin Swap or Flipper, and flip that. It'd be pretty cool also probably to include this into the status messages, so which contract was used for swapping. Flipper, for example, is limited to 2,500 coins. So if we go above that, it's gonna say that it's like the Origin Swap is no longer available, and it's gonna mint OUSD using Origin Vault. The expected gas cost is $31, and we should also see this. Does it not show here? I thought it shows on. Yeah, I think on production it shows like the amount
on mainnet,
of.
it'll show you the dollars.
Yeah, on mainnet it does, right? Okay, so I can't then show you that this is accurate, but it should be. It was on mainnet last time I was testing it. And yeah, it just incorporates the gas cost into like the effective price. So what are you paying for your one OUSD? Yeah, and also goes the other way around, of course. So the same UI for redeeming. I like this. Okay, I see. This needs rounding. I like how it's a lot more simplified, a lot less strain on the user to understand. And again, the same logic. Whatever amount you input, it's going to try to pick the best option. All right, the Flipper doesn't work yet, so maybe above two. Okay, it's crashing. It's not production level. Exactly. Okay, so it says Origin Uniswap unsupported because currently I supported only direct swaps because our pool is USDT OUSD, but we can include it into this release or the next one where we'll support chaining of the Uniswap. So when you submit request to the router, you can say it's that's not the correct terminology, but it's kind of a chained request, and then it's going to use multiple Uniswap pools to get you from your initial to the end to the destination currency. Yeah. Okay. So this is gonna.
Yeah, I just
swap.
spent last week learning that. So if you want to catch me sometime, Doman, maybe tomorrow morning, I can talk about how it works out if you want the scoop.
That'd be great. That'd be great. Anytime I can save on understanding that, I'll be very happy about it. So yeah, this is basically it. Any questions?
And just so I'm clear, if you change from DAI to USDT, then Uniswap would be available for this particular transaction, right? Since that's the immediately available pool.
Sorry, did you say DAI?
If I click the drop down and switches to USDT or USD, then is the Uniswap pool going to show? It will show. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. And if we want to include it into, but yeah, I'm going to talk to Daniel tomorrow. I don't. It's hard for me to estimate how much work it is, to support the chain swap and the gas costs regarding that and stuff like that. So,
great UI improvement, Doman. It's much simpler and easier to understand compared to what we had before.
And the least amount of praise goes to me, but yeah, all thanks to Ori and Micah and also Daniel, because we had one or two calls together, but Ori and Micah would be the best ones for this. Yeah, I also like it a lot. I think it's a lot better, a lot cleaner. And I do have to tell Ori that once values are populated in this above header, it doesn't work anymore. It looks so nice here, but I think we'll have to save some space here on top.
Looking great, Doman. Thanks so much. And there was one thing that we touched on last week that I put in the sprint stretch goals, which was integrating the Curve meta pool with this, so that we have a fourth option, since that's where we'll be steering a lot of our liquidity in the future. Anybody else have any comments or questions for Doman? If not, Daniel, I think we were going to get an update from you on the audit progress and then another couple of topics.
Yep, audit's progressing. They've been asking some questions in the last few days, and Franc pinged them. They are planning on wrapping up this Friday and then getting a report to us after that. They haven't found anything bad in anything live so far, so that's good. That's pretty much the status on the audit. Report in the next couple of days after that.
Yep. You said that they're going to try to wrap up on Friday, and then it goes through like next Wednesday or something officially.
Let's see. We should be able to complete our review by next Friday, deliver the report then or shortly thereafter. Yep.
Cool.
And so they'll also schedule a meeting with us at the end of it.
And we've got a fix or two on its way in that we might try to get included in that final report. Is that right?
Well, so there's going to be two, or this is kind of like the first report that they give us, and then we have a couple weeks to fix whatever comes in that. So we'll get all the fixes in, and then they'll check the fixes and have the final report that says that we fixed the things they found.
Okay. One of those fixes was the OGN Buyback, which I think somebody had asked about in Discord. Do you want to talk about how that's going?
Yeah, I have a version of that working in the fork system that's end-to-end complete. I have the deployment code written for it. What I'm doing starting this evening and tomorrow is writing that into our tests and mock system, but it's very close to done.
Cool. And how about the Threepole relaunch? Are you also working on that?
Yes, that'll be the next thing after that. Since I've been working on the Aave V2, and then the buyback one. I'm kind of all set up for contract development, so hopefully it'll go smoothly. I've mocked, or I've run simulated transactions against the curve system. So I think I've got a hang of how it works. We'll be just updating the contract from there. But yeah, that will be a bigger piece of work and might fit into this sprint, might go a little longer. Depends.
Okay. Anybody have questions or comments for Daniel? All right. We're a little bit behind schedule, so we'll kind of shift the conversation away from engineering focus to more business related topics, but still primarily about OUSD, since that's our main DeFi product. And then maybe toward the end of the hour, if anyone else would like to introduce themselves and let us know how you ended up here, what you're working on, we'd love to hear from you in about 20 or so minutes. We have a governance portal that we launched a couple of weeks ago. That's, I think, at vote.originprotocol.com. And there were a few proposals that I just wanted to highlight here and see maybe what the next steps would be on those. So those are here in the notes. And the first one is bounty pool proposal. Was that from Franc maybe?
Yeah, I filed this one and it got approved by the community. And so now we have funds to allocate to these developers bounty. So yeah, great news. And I think the next step, we'd love to see some concrete proposals from the community in terms of projects that we should fund with this bounty.
Yeah, we have 18 votes for it and 1 vote against, but overwhelming support from the community for that bounty proposal.
Great. And then there was a DAI allocation proposal from Daniel, I think it was.
Yeah, so this will be for once the Aave V2 strategy is deployed. We still have a final code review on that before we deploy it, but it's been tested a bit, so it should be good. But yeah, Tom, that's you there, and then it should just work. And Josh, you got 18 votes. I got 24. And unanimous.
Oh, wow. So the other 90% of DAI will be in the compound strategy. Is that the case?
Yes, until we finish this shakeout period.
Yeah. And you think that'll be next week or so when that goes live, when those funds move?
Yeah, it's very likely. Tom's, I think, scheduled to do the deploy.
Cool. All right. Well, anybody interrupt me at any time, but the other proposal that I wanted to mention was the convex strategy. It is, I'd say, the one that's been the most, I don't know about controversial, but there have been some opinions about it, and it's definitely more complicated than I think a couple of the others. So it looks like voting's still going on there. And I was just wondering, you know, if it's approved, what would the next steps be there, and what does the timeline look like? Anybody know?
So the actual convex portion is only slightly more complicated than just using curves built in Gauge. It's much less complicated than the Aave reward system. So that side of complexity on into our contract there is not that high. It is, you know, it's worth discussing if the yield is real. I think I've validated that the yield is real, but if anybody has any other data to show that it's not, I would love to dive in and take another look. From the risk point of view, it is adding another system in there that wasn't there before, so that is inherently an increase in risk. I don't think that it's prohibitive, given that it is by the Curve team, and there's certainly a tremendous amount of money in it. So I don't think that it really raises our risk profile too much, but that is a concern and is worth debating and discussing to make sure we've got our bases covered there. I guess if you ask about timeline wise, let's say it gets done end of next week with the view productionizing, we would roll it out again with probably like a 2-week rollout period, similar to the Aave one, just to add $200,000 or $400,000 or something, and then go from there according to yield. And we still would not throw, we'd probably gradually increment up the amount in it. We wouldn't go just 100% in any case. It's better to keep things spread out when we can.
All right. Anybody have questions or comments about that proposal? If you do, feel free to unmute, because you should be able to do that. How about getting added to any of the automated market makers or decentralized exchanges? Josh, have you made any progress on that since last week?
So the big push, like I said, was getting this proposal up to be included in the Curve UI. So we're going to ask for support on that. If you want to leave a comment on their forum. Now, one caveat here, we've done this in the past and our community has been very, very supportive with lots of comments on these forum posts, and we want to make sure the quality of the comments is high so that we don't piss off our moderators with a bunch of short, low quality, yeah, let's do this type questions or responses, and not please write a comment in support, but please make sure it's more than a few words long and actually add some substance to the conversation. And then the other one we're working on is the SushiSwap Kashi lending protocol. We met with some members of the Sushi team over the weekend, and we're going to take a look at getting added to their lending platform as well. And then this isn't a lending platform per se, but there's also Ledger Live. They have their apps in there, and so we're probably going to want to work on getting OUSD app included in the Ledger Live app store. We'll probably need to make some modifications to our app, but that's also something we should probably be thinking about.
All right. Sounds like progress. Thanks. Daniel, you wrote up a doc, or you have one in progress, speaking to the marketing initiatives associated with liquidity mining that we'll be doing soon. Anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, just it's something we should think of and have a good strategy on, since we'll have a tremendous tailwind, tremendous multiplier to whatever we do during that period. So we want to take advantage of it as much as possible, and hit it from every angle and maximize the hype during and the reach, and see if there's a good way to go viral during that time, because we'll have a great yield and we'll have a fresh audit from Open Zeppelin. So yield and security is a pretty nice combo.
Great. And if you haven't read this document yet, like I haven't, please take a look at that.
It's only halfway there, Josh, right now. So it should be, you could still put it off a day or two.
All right.
Thanks for getting that started, Daniel. Are there any other topics that we should cover while we're here? If you said something in Discord, I probably have not seen it during this meeting. But unless somebody has something that they want to discuss, then we can open up the floor to anyone who wants to introduce themselves. Let us know, like I said earlier, how you found out about Origin, how long you've been following us, and maybe what you're up to, any projects you're working on, or that you think we should be aware of. But maybe either just unmute or kind of raise your hand in the chat if you want to say something. Well, maybe think about it, come back next week, and we'll be happy to have you then. There were a few action items that were left over from last week before we took this meeting public. And a couple of them, Josh, were just kind of in general about getting more exposure for the tokens. And then it sounded like you guys worked out how to manage deployment upgrades for Gnosis. I think they were going to let us use our domain instead of IPFS. So I think that's done. You and Tom can work that out. And then I had a couple of new ones that I added before we started here. One, to share the recording from this call if we decide we want to do that. And then on Doman's project that he was working on, there are a bunch of places we were going to put little help icons and tooltips to explain some of those concepts. So I will work on doing that this week. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up? Well, thanks everyone for bearing with us using Zoom for the first time in a long time. We'll reassess and maybe try something a little bit different next week. And otherwise join Discord if you haven't already. I assume that's how most of you found us today. And we'll look forward to making more progress on OUSD and other DeFi initiatives, and talk to you again next week, if not between now and then.
Thanks, everyone.
See y'all later. Bye.
Good meeting.
So long.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for hosting, Micah.
Mm-hmm.
You're a great Zoomer.